Yuki is an ordinary student going about his boring school day until his classmate Yuhai asks what he's looking at. He tries to convince her that she should avoid him since stories about them will spread. She doesn't mind, though, because they were childhood friends. She notices how long he has let his hair grow and asks if he wants her to clip it again. Yuki eventually opens up and smiles at her, allowing her to do so but insisting that she never changes. She assures him that they will always be friends and grins at him, pleased that he accepted it. Yuki then turns to face the outside and considers how the outer world is faring. Everyone in the room notices the windows dimming at the same time that a large circle emerges on the classroom floor, except for Yuki, who appears to grasp what is happening. Everyone in his class opens their eyes a few seconds later to discover they are in a wasteland. Yuki looks around and becomes rather excited since he is aware of his location. Yuhai is interested in finding out, but everyone's focus shifts to a nearby disturbance. The students are startled to see some Chemtech troops approaching them. They quicken the pace, causing the pupils to flee out of fear, except for Yuki, who stands there since she is already aware of the magical power. At the same time, one of the soldiers attempts to crush them. Yuki defeats it with only one finger, and the two begin racing away. As they go, they notice some foot troops heading in their way to combat the first ones, whom they refer to as devils. The students are watching the two parties fight, but Yuki believes that the conflict should have already finished. Yuki begins to feel agony in his chest after staring at the demons again, and realizes he was cursed previously. A female on a horse approaches and advises the pupils to go into hiding while the royal knights defend them. But Yuki seemed to already know who that girl is. She and the remaining troops use swordsmanship and magic to confront the demon horde. Yuhai is taken aback by how robust they appear to be for their age. Yuki doesn't appear astonished. Instead, he appears proud. The two then begin to escape, taking advantage of the safety provided. The King of Distinia and his daughter Margaret praise the heroes for coming to their aid after being escorted to the castle. He reveals that their kingdom is being besieged by demons, and that, as 5 years previously, a troop of heroes has been summoned to their realm. However, the kids were perplexed and unable to understand the issue. Margaret tells in detail how, 5 years ago, a hero was sent to their realm, where he destroyed the monsters and granted them peace. However, the same hero unexpectedly vanished. The king begged the heroes to cease the continuing fight between demons and beast relatives. Every pupil was obliged to learn and practice swordsmanship with Glein and magic with Elka. Yuki, on the other hand, had hoped to avoid all of the hard labor and simply enjoy the journey. Elka caught Yuki slacking off during training and called him on it. She first compliments him on his calm demeanor in this new environment, but then comments that his selfishness is similar to that of the prior hero. She told him to get back to training, but he only laughed at her. She planned to teach him a lesson, but after avoiding her strike, he merely slaps her. Her heart skipped a beat when she felt his hands on her. The way he handled her told her it was him right away. She couldn't stop herself from expressing how lonely she felt when he departed. Yuki apologized and told her that he was returning for good. Glein comes, completely unaware of what is going on, but they fill him in, and he realizes Elka wouldn't respond that way if that person wasn't the previous hero. They rush to notify their other comrade Thea, who seems unsurprised, but she was already aware of Yuki's magical strength, despite his altered form. Yuki then states that he previously vowed to return and has now done so. His three friends are taken aback at first, but they quickly warmly welcome him back home. Yuki suddenly alters his attitude, thinking they may have died while he was in the other world. He was perplexed as to why the demons were striking again. The gang swiftly reads his mind and informs him that they have some questions for him. They wonder how he got back to this planet and why he looks like someone else. They explain that, in their opinion, he just vanished after his last combat. But Yuki is still perplexed as to why he was taken back to his planet. According to him, he was fighting against their own friend, Toma, and both were receiving punches and bruises. When Yuki managed to contact Toma's shoulder, a magical ball began to gently expand, and he was reborn in his native planet. He preserved all of his memories and magic abilities and was mysteriously pulled back to this planet. Elka mentions what the princess earlier told Thea. This last summoning isn't a coincidence, but Yuki isn't interested right now. He wants to know what happened to Toma after he received his final strike. He says that if Toma is still alive, he is most likely the mastermind behind the latest demon invasion. Thea inquires whether the demons are under the grip of any curse or Toma's power, and Yuki confirms it, noting the demon's magic strength he sensed a few days before. So the only explanation is that Toma is behind everything. Alka reveals that they looked for Toma in the same way as they looked for Yuki, but they didn't discover anything. But now that they know Yuki is alive, they also believe Toma is. A soldier stops them abruptly, stating that the king has urgently demanded Glein. As Glein walks away, Yuki notes that his friend is working hard, and Elka mentions that Yuki was the initial candidate for the position. But Yuki didn't want that. His intention had been to travel all across the world after the last fight, but he ended up in this scenario. While admiring the view, Yuki begins to wonder what Toma has planned. Inside the castle, the king laments the fact that he should never have accepted a peace pact 5 years ago and resolves to unleash all-out war on the demons. But Glyne seeks to postpone it because their ambassador hasn't returned from the demonic continent with the news. The princess disagrees, pointing out that it was the demons that invaded them, and the heroes being called at the same moment is confirmation that battle is inevitable. The monarch returns to the subject, stating that he should never have trusted the former hero to forge a peace pact, and goes on to say that if he goes missing, it just means they made the wrong decision. Yuhai is practicing magic spells on the training grounds, since she appears to have a natural flair for it. Yuki approaches her, complimenting her and emphasizing how talented she is. She thanks him, but he instantly senses something is amiss with her. He wonders what's wrong, and she asks if she's practicing hurting others. And why should anybody ever go to war? Yuki understands the truth but is unsure how to respond because it would harm her. Despite this, she swiftly recovers and declares that she would use her magical gift to defend him. Later that night, Yuki's comrades approach him and explain the king's plans to launch the war. Glyne tried to gain some time by claiming that the heroes would die in the first wave and that they required additional training. But Yuki has already made up his mind. He will go out and halt the battle by himself once more. He feels that this conflict is the result of Toma's stupidity and that he is the one who has to be stopped. The three of them grin at him and begin to express their willingness to join him on their previous excursions. But Yuki refuses. He has to travel alone. They also cannot leave the castle and the pupils alone. He also warns that if Toma is the one starting the conflict, someone should stay in the castle since he would undoubtedly assault it. That alone is incentive enough for them to stay and serve the kingdom. But before departing, Yuki requires one item, his weapon. To sneak around the castle storage area, the party employs invisibility magic. Elka walks ahead to take down the guards, and the party recalls how she used to usually go in front during their dungeon adventures. She then begins to lockpick the room, but Yuhai discovers something weird and watches them enter in. Inside, Yuki discovers a large black sword he names Kiramaru. The soldiers, however, locate the guard Elka has beaten up and begin searching the castle for the invaders. Thea and Glyne will do everything possible to postpone the issue, allowing Yuki and Elka to flee the castle. After eventually passing through the castle walls, Elka informs him that the three would do whatever to prevent the king from starting the war, believing that this will allow Yuki enough time to halt Toma and the demon invasion. At the same time, Yuhai, who observed Yuki enter the storage area, managed to follow him. She runs to his arms, wondering why and where he is going. He chooses to divulge the truth, stating that this is the second time he has been sent to this realm, and that he needs to meet someone in order to end this battle. Yuhai's eyes well up with tears as she pleads to accompany him, pledging to be useful, but Yuki can't let her be wounded. It's too risky for her. She is overcome with emotion, yet she recalls her commitment. She urges him to close his eyes and approaches him. She conjures wind and fire magic in a second and gives him the promised haircut. She toughens up, smiles, and pledges once more that she will become strong and defend him. He knuckles her forehead and promises that if she avoids it the next time, she will pass the exam and follow him. Thanks for watching. Please make sure to subscribe and watch my other videos if you're into my content.